So, you study many subjects. Why would you do that to yourself? Look at you now, crying because there is just too much work and too little time. Well, we cannot turn back time, but what I can do is drop 7 unique study tips that will help you survive these academic jobs. So, I am a med student, and there are just a lot of subjects and a lot of topics to cover. I had thought that I could handle it, but I barely survived. But in this process, I figured out some unique study tips that I will be dropping in this video. Point number three is something that I have never seen on YouTube, so make sure to stick around till the end. So, the tip number one is split your subjects the right way. First, do not dedicate an entire day to one subject. That's like eating only broccoli for a week and wondering why you hate your life. Imagine you have 10 subjects. If you study, let's say, anatomy on Monday, you won't touch it again until the next Thursday. But then, will you remember it? No. So what you should do is divide your subject into 2 or 3 batches. If you have, let's say, 8 subjects or less, split them into 2 batches or 2 groups and alternate daily. If you have 9 or more subjects, 3 batches might be needed. So, for example, let's say you study history, maths, and arts on Monday. Then on Tuesday, you study biology, English, chemistry. And from Wednesday, you repeat the same pattern. This way, you are seeing each subject often enough to actually remember things. Oftentimes, what happens when you have a lot of subjects is we go for the hard subjects. We spend too much time to understand on that topic or that subject. We ignore the easy subjects, and what happens, we get less marks even in the easy subjects. So here's the golden rule: mix hard and easy subjects together. Do not study maths, biology, and history in one day. That's a suffering. Instead, do maths, arts, and history. Balance is the key. Now, this was the tip that I was talking about at first. So, the tip number three is the twice a day trick for memory retention. So, if you want to actually remember what you study it twice in one day. Like, let's say you study a chapter, for example, plant morphology in the morning session. So, first you study everything, you try to remember everything, but when it's nighttime or before bedtime, try to recall it again before going to bed. This will help you to remember more clearly. Or if you do night study sessions, then try to recall it early morning. The moment you wake up, try to recall it, and it actually forces your brain to remember stuff. So you see how this works, because your brain realizes, oh, I actually need this information, instead of just dumping it to the void. So for bonus tip, I will say, if you film a time lapse of yourself studying, it will keep you from getting lazy halfway. So tip number four is the subject category rule. I don't see much people talk about this, but you should not study similar subjects back to back. So you see, subject falls in different categories. Like for memory based, like history, biology, geography. For solving, like maths, physics, especially numericals and accounting. Then interpretation based, like literature, essays, English, Nepali. So never study 2 subjects from the same category in one session. You see, if you study, let's say, from first history, then after that biology, then geography, your brain will be overloaded with all this information. But if you go from history to math to literature, it actually keeps your brain more engaged. This way, when one subject drains you, the next gives you a mental refresh. The next tip, it's not a tip, but I will count it as a tip, but it is to prioritize what actually matters. You see, what most people do is they open the textbook, read everything like a novel, copy the entire textbook in the name of notes, and then just read it again and again and again. This is a very bad way of a study. No one should be doing this. But here is what you should do is, first highlight the learning objectives. Go through the learning objectives, or you can even go for the past year questions. They tell you what actually on the exams. Second, study those questions first. If you have extra time, move to the rest of the chapter. And third, review your weakest topics before the exams. Studying everything equally is a waste of time, because most of the time we waste so much time on learning all those processes, events, all the cycles, but they rarely ever come in the exams. So do not waste your time. Focus on most important stuff first. For tip number 6, it is the 2-minute test for weak spots. So before diving into a new subject for the day, I'll take a blank sheet of paper and write down everything that I can remember, that I can recall. If needed, I might go to the learning objectives before the chapter to know what things that I should be knowing. So if I struggle to recall something, that's what I needed to revise first. It is like a reality check before you waste time rereading stuff you already know. Now, the last tip is use different sports for different subjects. So, I noticed that when I study all my subjects at the same desk, my brain just gets lazy. So, I assign different spots for different subjects, like let's say math at the desks and history on the couch or science on the bed. I wouldn't recommend studying at the bed, but if we get that, the small table, then it can be good enough when you are not in a mood. Sometimes things like when you have to practice a lot of questions, I just study on the bed. So what happens is your brain associate different places, different surrounding to different events based on what you do, based on what you experience. So assigning different places for different subjects, it can help your brain to focus much better. So now for the final words, I would ask, how many subjects are you currently taking? I want to see who is suffering the most. So if you like the video, make sure to like, subscribe and hit the bell icon so you do not want to miss any of my future survival guides. And thank you for watching. See you next video.